Happy today. I am William Brown from IamWilliamBrown.com. And I almost forgot what show I was doing. And it's just so funny. But it's like, how sometimes you feel like you're doing too much. And I just had that moment where I felt that I was doing too much. But it's a lovely day. And the one thing that I really enjoy is that our ability to begin again. So happy today. This is Disconnect to Connect One Word Conversations. I am William Brown from IamWilliamBrown.com. One Word Conversations is a self-discovery, relationship-building conversation, a place where I invite you to take one word to really connect with someone on a deeper level. Too often we say a lot of lovely words, and sometimes it's all it takes is one word to get in the way. So within this conversation, we can learn more about ourselves and learn more about each other. One Word Conversations is brought to you by IamWilliamBrown.com, a place that helps you be yourself and live your life. One way that I spotlight what's available in the store is our U cards. Our U cards are intention setting cards, and they're a game, and they're available for you along with my book, Beyond the Shell, and the U journal. So the cards that I picked for this conversation is I am kind, you are worthy, and the quote card is before I formed you in the womb, I knew you, Jeremiah 1:5. So with that in mind, I will do the like, share, comment, ask questions, do all those things that lets me know that these conversations are bringing value to you. But I really would love to hear how it's showing up for you. So the word for today is unleashed. There's a number of reasons why this word has been coming up. And one, because one of our former guests and a good friend of mine just recently published a beautiful book, Inside and Out. You look at the cover and you see like there's something happening in there, and there is, and so as soon as I heard the word just came down, and I just wanted to unpack that. I said, look, let's just bring her back and bring her on so we can have a conversation. Good morning.
Good morning, William. Thanks for having me again.
Oh, thanks for being here. So this is that moment where I invite my guests to introduce themselves however it feels comfortable to them.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Helen Moses, and today I want to tell you that I am somebody who cares about others. I care about others as hard as it may be sometimes, but I care about others who disagree with me, and I care about others who agree with me. And that's how I wanted to introduce myself.
Well, wonderful. I felt that. I mean, there is, that's what my 2019 is to care about people as much and as hard as I always do, right? But care about myself a little bit more, but really acknowledging that I care about people. Because sometimes when people, I don't want to say push you to a point where you're just like, do I really care? But it's like, yes, I do. Yes, I do. So thank you for bringing that within this conversation. So this is the word for today, unleashed. So how does that show up for you?
Well, I'm not a physics whiz, but the word unleashed to me means that something has been held back, stored up, built up pressure, and is bubbling to the point that it becomes ready to be released.
Right.
And when it has been released, for good or for worse,
Right.
it's unleashed.
Right. Yeah. I realize that sometimes for myself, because this is how it's coming up for me, I there has been a number of ways that in my mind I felt that I was held up or held back or oppressed and all that, and there's real and imagined type of things, and there was this energy coming from somewhere of being free, being released, and I wanted to manage it, right? Because I wanted it to come out nice, right? I wanted it to come out without colorful words, right? Like, I wanted to, to do all those things. But I think the more that I really embrace Unleashed, you just get it. Right. It's like sometimes it's pretty and sometimes it's not. And so really embracing that. And I think that's the one reason why I wanted to bring you on and kind of, not just share the word, but share this, some of the lovely stories in your book that I'm going to put up again for people to see, type of thing in that, in the journey of, of that, is because sometimes it's not pretty, but it still needs to be free. It still needs to be out. I just needed to take a breath there, right?
Sure, I'm with you. I like the breath.
Right.
Yeah.
So why, the title of the book is, Voice Unleashed, Speaking Up with Faith and Courage. So did the title come first or did the stories come first?
That's an interesting question, and I think a little bit of both.
Huh.
I had an experience that I talk about into the book. I think I start talking about it in chapter 7, but it was an experience at the very beginning of 2016, so not in my lifetime, not that long ago.
Right.
That first gave me a taste of that freedom that you were talking about, that freedom of being able to let go of all of the things I was worried about and holding on to. And if even my hands were actually rising on their own. I was in the middle of singing a song that I wasn't sure how it was going to go over with the audience. And everything was just sort of happening on its own. And I discovered that if I just let go and stopped trying and just surrendered, then I discovered this amazing freedom that I had not ever experienced before. It was an amazing experience. It didn't matter how the audience reacted. It didn't matter if people would make fun of me for what I was doing or didn't like me because of what I was doing. None of that mattered. It was a very holy moment for me, and that's all that mattered.
Right.
And it was a free moment with the Holy Spirit and with me, and it was the first taste of that freedom that I ever got. And that experience ultimately led me to ask my friend, who is an artist, Dan Campbell, to paint the painting Unleashed. That's what it was called. Wow. Unleashed, to represent that experience. And that, if you hold up the cover again, it is a glossy cover, so it shines in the light a little bit, but that woman represents the experience and the elation that I felt when I totally let go and was unleashed. So the word unleashed came before Voice Unleashed and before the subtitle. And the stories just kind of kept coming in and just at the right time and making it all come together in one nice package.
Right. Oh, and that's, like I said, that's so beautiful. And I think there's so many times within my life, and, and I was feeling it when I was reading your book, that I was holding myself back
Mhm.
it wasn't like anybody, it's like most of the times it feels like there's this exterior, the man is keeping me down or something, or something like there's all of these things that are keeping me from showing up fully expressed
Mhm.
and full throated and all of those things. But it's like you're doing it to yourself. And it's like
Yes.
the more that you just let go and be in this moment, it's almost, when you were explaining, when I was reading it in the book, it's like, I don't want to say it overpowered you, because there was this width, there was this,
Mhm.
there was this partnership,
It was a
with
partnership. Yes, it
within
was.
within that release, that it's like, why do you think that, um or do you believe, let's say there, that we're afraid of that, that divine
Yeah.
partnership, right?
Yeah, because that's the invisible.
Hmm.
And the visible is right here on earth, and there we have many visible examples of why we shouldn't trust others when
Hmm.
they say they're going to help us.
Right.
And also, I went through, and I talk about it in the book, that it was so important to me for so much of my life to be likable and be liked and meet everybody else's expectations, and do right by them. And in doing so, then that would verify that I was valuable and worthy and likable and everything that I wanted to be.
Right.
Yeah. So honestly, I just got so caught up in that moment, I forgot where I was going.
Right. No, I totally get it. That, the question that was,
Oh, the partnership. That's what it
yeah,
was.
the partner. I don't know if you wanted to add more to that.
Yeah, so I think it's very hard for us to trust, but I as a person of faith, that's one of the reasons why faith had to be in the title of this book,
Hmm.
because I never thought of it, William, until you just said it, that it wasn't just me, it was a partnership in that surrender moment. So thank you for that, for one thing. But it really was, and that's what I learned to trust more and more. And the more I trusted it, the stronger that faith began and became. And so I guess that's where I'll leave off on that
Right.
thought.
No, I totally, I totally get that. I have this conversation around labels and how we show up at different labels. Um, there was a number of labels that I saw in the book that, I don't want to say that was holding you back, right? Or your understanding. How are you able to, really get to a place where Helen was speaking and not the labels, right? Not all
Yeah.
of those other things that was kind of running the show.
Well, that took the whole book.
Right, right.
That wasn't just one experience.
Right.
That took the whole book of experiences for me
Right.
to get to that point. And that's why I'm so happy to have this book for others who may find themselves in a similar situation. And I'm going to be 52 in less than a week.
Hmm.
So, this is midlife. It took me this long. That was just 4.5, almost 5 years ago, that first
Right.
experience that I talk about. And I didn't really do the work to get myself to allow myself to really unleash Helen
Right.
until I just first got that glimpse of what it could be like. And then I was like, oh, I want more of that. How do
Right.
I get there? And then it wasn't a deliberate path. I didn't set out, okay, I'm going to do this so that I can become more unleashed. And I just knew that's what I wanted. And I believe there was a divine partnership this whole time, guiding me through experiences and meeting people and lessons learned and failures and successes and, just experiences that happened that collectively all came together and allowed me to unleash Helen.
Right. I am, and, I really get that and I appreciate it. I am, um, this is what I wanted to bring, to this, is that sometimes the biggest concern that I have, I overthink a lot of things. So, there's a lot of
Me
things
too.
that
Me
that
too.
kind of, keep me there. Is that once I get a taste of something, one, there's an appreciation of it, and then I want to um, continue to do it, right? I don't want to get in the
Right.
way of it. Um, but at the same time, it feels that if I am now in control of, being unleashed, now I'm manipulating it. It's not,
Mm.
it's not, this partnership anymore. It's just now, all right, sometimes in online marketing, 5 steps to get unleashed, right? Type of thing. It's like,
Yeah.
no, right? It's like, how do how do you and so here's the question. How do
Okay.
you embrace that, this current understanding and this awareness of this presence within this partnership, and not try to like hold on to that, but allow it to continue to grow, and to be in the fullness of that. Does that make sense?
It does. And I think I have an answer from my perspective anyway. It might
Okay.
look different on other people. But one of the hardest things that I've had to learn and am still learning is how to be present with God.
Got it.
I don't know if you've heard of the Strengths Finder, the Clifton Strengths Finder, but one of my top 5 strengths is futuristic. So I'm always thinking ahead and always wondering, and I love contingency plans. And if I walk into a situation and I don't have a contingency plan, then I get nervous and anxious.
Right.
Even though I'm completely willing to change that plan if need be. I just want to walk in with plan A.
Right.
Right? I just have plan B. Get me up to plan B. Plan A is one thing, and if that doesn't happen, I've got plan B.
Right.
But the longer that I can't have practiced, and that's something that I began to practice more and more to the point that it actually is what I would call a regular practice, spending time with God, being present in the moment every day, that's how it maintains its partnership status.
Right.
Because if I go off on my own, inevitably I'm going to
Right.
stumble and fall
Right.
and make a mistake and be like, oh, why did I do that, right? And in fact, I recently got a kind of a nudge, wait, Helen, don't be so quick to act.
Right.
Make sure that you're paying attention to what's going on right now. And so that helps me maintain that partnership part, and the trust that, yes, I do need to think about what's going on. I do need to have plans, and I function better in my work if I do actually set goals for each week and, have goals in different areas of my business and life and things. But ultimately, I might be called in one moment to just sit and be present with God.
Right.
And that takes priority for me now that it didn't before. And so when I can do that and remember that if I feel the nudge to do that, that's what I need to do.
Right.
It takes the pressure off, and it helps me remember that partnership.
Yeah. The question that's coming up now is that, did your relationship with the word freedom change because you embrace the unleashed?
That's a good question. Let me give that some thought. I guess it may have freedom. Well, I think before that moment at that event where I was singing and raising my hands,
right.
I don't think I knew how trapped I was.
Got it.
So freedom to me would be, it was just like, okay, we're free in this country, America is for the land of the free, or what, I'd heard all of that.
All those things, right?
Freedom and justice for all. And, or a bird is free to fly in the air, or, a phone call is free now. It used to be a toll call, but now it's free, we don't have to pay money. Right. What is freedom? But that's a good question. I don't think I recognized that was the first moment I recognized freedom.
Right.
Is so much bigger and joyful and beautiful and empowering and lovely and full of light than I ever knew, because I didn't realize how deeply down in the hole I actually was.
Yeah, it's and I think the reason why I asked you that freedom question is that, when I was reading the book, there was this, I don't want to say this coy, like, should I do this? Should I do it's just like, what, is this, you know, you know, it's like, because even within, I'm trying to, because this is a language that I use for myself. I've created a lot of lovely prisons for myself, right?
Mm.
And so I don't know if you have seen your life as a prison. So I don't want to put that on you. But sometimes for me, it is just like everything's good. It's like, dude, there's bars here. It's like everything's
Yes.
everything's
Yes.
good.
Oh no, it's fine. I'm doing great here. I'm
Right,
happy and I'm comfortable. I'm
right,
comfortable
right,
here. And to go beyond this, even though there are bars on the other side of that fuzzy wall, pink wall, that's keeps me
right,
soft and comfortable,
right,
that's too scary
right,
for me to think about because this is all I know. This is comfortable to me.
right,
And so I'm fine. I'm
right.
just fine.
we
Yeah.
can we can create a good, quote unquote, life within those fuzzy walls, right?
Yeah.
knowing that
Absolutely.
knowing that there is something beyond that, but it's like, why should I mess with that, right? Because it might be not as fuzzy out there, right?
Yeah. You know what I just thought about? Those game shows where or Who Wants to Be a Millionaire or something like that, where you have the opportunity to stop with the winnings that you have
Right,
or take the chance. And the risk is big
right,
if you take the chance, but you could actually be willing to forfeit what you have for the risk of something 4 to 100 times greater.
right,
And it's interesting to see the choices that people make. And I think if I were in that particular situation, I would actually stick there and
right,
stay
yeah,
with what I won because
right,
there's a little bit of math involved, but more so than life perhaps. But we get comfortable where we are. And, you know, this is just coming to mind. I was actually a speaker coach for the TEDx Raleigh event that happened on Sunday, this past week. And one of the speakers was talking about, and his call to action was make a list of your complaints. He was an inventor. He is an inventor. He actually made multi-millions off of a product
right.
that he invented out of a complaint of his. He
Hmm.
solved the problem, and then he turned it into this product that has sold millions and millions of items. And but his whole point was, make your list of complaints and then decide what you're going to do to solve them. You might not become an inventor, but you have the capacity to solve these problems. And if you're not going to solve the problems, then don't complain about them, or just leave them in
Right,
the book,
right,
come
right.
back. And I think a lot of us in our comfort in these padded, fuzzy pink cells. I guess my daughter always said she wanted to live in a fuzzy house one day when she was younger. That's what I'm picturing. But we get so comfortable in these cells that part of the comfort is complaining about not being able to be on what's on the outside of the wall.
Wow.
When we could actually take action
Right,
to just remove some of the pink fuzziness and see an opening through the bars.
right. Wow. Yeah. What and so that brings me to the next question. What has writing this book, unleashed for you?
The biggest thing is that I don't have to go back to that fuzzy pink cell.
Hmm.
I try to. I mean, 50 years of habits.
Right.
I can go back there pretty. I actually I walk back into it sometimes, but I have the key and I can open the door, right? And so the trick is what this writing of this book and collecting all of these stories, and I list some reflection questions for people at the end of each chapter, and I thought about those myself. So that whole process for me, it allows me to, when I want to, and when I'm ready, to leave that fuzzy pink cell anytime. I don't have to stay in there.
Hmm.
And I've been outside enough now that I know what's out there. I'm familiar with that. And
Wow.
that's becoming a little bit more comfortable. So that's been what's unleashed for me with the book is the knowledge and the power
Right.
that I am no longer imprisoned. I love this word. I'm no longer imprisoned in this fuzzy pink
Right.
sales. I'm really not.
It's like, I don't know if we're gonna corner the market on fuzzy pink sales, right? Yeah, or something. But there was, there was something that I think it was almost a year ago where, there's many people that live their life by memes, right? So it's like whatever a
Mhm.
meme says, that's how they're going to live their life. And that's, I ain't mad at them, right? But it's just kind of interesting. But there was this thing about, there's magic beyond your comfort zone, and there is all this stuff is beyond your comfort zone. And at the time I was like dealing with some very difficult things in my life and my marriage and my business and everything like that. And it was like, so I wanted to, knock down the walls of my, understanding my prison or whatever the case might be, and just kind of because I felt like it was no longer comfortable, right? Um,
Mhm.
and But before I really felt to take that journey forward, the question that I wrote and the question that kept on coming up for me is that what is bringing me comfort right now?
Hmm.
What I am here for a reason. What is bringing me comfort that is causing me, even in this difficult moment right now, even in my awareness that there is something more than this? What is bringing me comfort? And the more that I sat with that, I was able to do, like you were saying, that, get the key, go out, hang out somewhere else. And every once in a while, I'll go back to that comfortable dark. And I think I don't know if I took the fuzziness off when I left, but but when I go back to those moments, it's not as comfortable as it was before. you
Yeah,
know,
that's
you
true.
know?
That is true. And I don't wanna be there as long.
Right. And so it's like, okay, all right, I know this. All right, let's go again. And but
Yeah.
it was really embracing that so you can stay there. And I think that what I'm feeling right now, and then, like I said, hopefully I'm not projecting anything on you.
I'll let you
But
know.
but but there is so much more, of Helen and how she's going to show up in the world, that this is like the one layer of unleashed for you.
Yeah.
And it's like there is the excited and fearful. It's like, what?
Mhm.
It's, so you, it's like they're part of
Yeah.
it. It's like, I don't say, okay, what's next? Right. It's like type of thing. But is there a feeling that, okay, now I'm out here, there's something else that is calling me?
Yeah, it's like the, concentric circles,
Mm,
I
right.
I started out there and now I'm here,
Right.
and so I learned there was more out, but now I have to go through the same steps. I have to get out of the comfort of this level. I'm hearing the calling for the next circle.
Right.
And, and actually, who knows? I don't even know, William, where exactly where my business is going. No, for me, because I don't want to do it unless it's in alignment with what God has designed me to do. We talked
Absolutely.
about the quote today. I mean, He knew me before I was born and had something in mind. So, and that's how I was designed. That's what I believe anyway.
Right.
And so I don't want to mess this up,
Right.
right?
I got you. I got you.
So for me to plan, I'm going to make $1 million by so and so. Well, that's fine if that is in alignment with what God needs me to do, so that I can then go to the next circle.
Right.
Right? But I just want to, that whole going back to stay present. Okay, I've made it this far, and that's good. It's feeling now. This is becoming a little bit more comfortable. But the more comfortable I get, the more imprisoned I risk being,
Right.
and I have to not settle for that, but allow myself to go through faith and courage, and speak up and use my voice to, in a variety of ways, to talk about how that, to make manifest of what the next thing is.
Right. Um, I guess there's two questions coming up, and so here's the one that I'll start with, and I'll probably
Okay.
answer the second question. is
Okay.
that there has been times in my life where I have been accused or I felt like I'm not appreciating where I am and what I have.
Hmm.
And so here's the question. How can you embrace where you are or acknowledge where you are and still answer the call to the partnership to be more, to be unleashed from that comfort, um, to go to the next?
Uh, yeah. Um, be grateful for everything.
Hmm,
Be grateful for the good things. Be grateful for the things you have to complain about.
hmm,
Because as we talked about earlier, those are the things that bring possibility and
right,
allow God to show us what can actually be done. I mean, there's so much more that can be done if we are in alignment and we are speaking out, whether that's literally with your voice or showing up for
hmm,
a cause or whatever it may be. It's or listening to other people. It's and knowing when to not say something. That I think
right,
that's a form of speaking up too.
right,
But it takes the faith and courage, and we have to stay present. But I say the trick to that, to appreciating what you have, is count those blessings, but not just the ones that you like.
right,
We're called to give thanks in everything. And so I've had that practice. You know, when I talk about my children, in particular my daughter, who was quite ill for a while, and I don't want to thank anybody for that situation and what she was going through and the trauma that hit our family. I didn't want to thank anybody, or surely not God, for that. But the
right,
more I began to understand how to do that, then that allowed that almost that possibility to start
right,
happening, and the partnership to
right,
start working.
right. You know, the what came up when you were speaking about complaints, because my nice guy label, I don't complain. Nice guys
Yeah.
don't complain. We just kind of deal with,
Oh no,
right,
no,
type
no.
of thing. And when I'm not when I'm not complaining, or if I tell myself that I have no complaints, there's no possibility. I'm reducing
Mm-hmm.
the next possibility, the answer
Yeah,
to those,
yeah,
and so I'm like denying that there's any complaints so I can be comfortable, right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm like building more bars, right? It's like,
We're constructing our own bars around
oh, good
our
Lord.
bubbles or our walls or
Right,
whatever. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I wanted this talk just to bring it back to the book. I bring the final chapter. Well, the last chapter is a letter to the reader, from me to the reader,
right,
and what I hope that the reader will have gained, and an opportunity to connect with me in some way. But the next to the last chapter is about purpose, and another word that could be a synonym or used similarly to purpose is potential. And you've all heard this phrase of unleashing your potential or
right,
unleashing your purpose. And so in the book, based on my own experience, I help people, ask me questions and help people think about things that have really resonated with them and brought them joy and that they're good at, and that they causes that they're drawn to, and things like that, to help unleash what their potential is.
right,
How does your value as a human being, with the values that you stand for, that come to your heart,
right,
and the resources that you have available to use, how does alignment with those and the gifts, that one of the resources is your gifts that you were
right,
given by God, when you put all those things into alignment and are ready to take the next step and see where it can take you, that's what's so amazing and what's so possible. So unleashing that potential purpose to make a big difference, even for just one person. But then there's the whole ripple effect. Talk about concentric circles, right?
right.
um, but there's just so much more than we often allow ourselves to accept, because we're comfortable.
Yeah, I've embraced the I am purpose. I am
Mm.
potential. And so the more that I take that on or invite people to take that on, then they're not looking um, somewhere else for it, And
Mm-hmm.
if
Yeah.
I see myself as purpose, to going back to the quote that before I was formed in the womb, you knew me, right? That I got here. The reason why I'm here, that we're here, is because there's purpose. It wasn't just, hey, you're not doing anything today. Let's just go down there and, and just kind of, muck around for for 80 years or whatever, however long, and just kind of do that. But there's a purpose to it, and the more
Mm-hmm.
that I am willing to take a look at, um, myself or who I am and whose I am, right?
Right.
Then purpose is revealed. Um, then the desire to hide behind, um, the bars, or to stay comfortable. And I think even in some cases for me, comfort is like the same thing as perfection, right? It's something
Mm.
that we have created that it really doesn't exist, right?
Huh.
Comfort for me is now showing up as just places that I'm denying of the bigness of my life, right? I,
Mm.
I am just, I have decided in certain areas I'm not going to be unleashed, right? Because it's like,
Yeah.
because of the responsibilities, because of the attention, all of the other things that I'm not yet ready to deal with.
It's not the
Uh,
right time.
right. And I will be in comfort, right? I will be in
Mhm.
denial, right? Right. And and like I said, that's hard, but I think in some cases it reminds me of the bigness, of my life.
Mm.
And that I don't get too far ahead. But I told you before, we started, or I don't know, it's probably within the conversation of the book, there was this, um, after reading it, the Rocky song was playing in the background, and it's like, yeah, let's go out and, you know, right, it just kind of like, it's like, this is great. Let's just kind of go. And I love your caution of, don't get ahead of yourself. Don't get, there is still, training, there is still reflection, there is still something within that. And I'm glad, I'll say for myself, it wasn't something that I thought of, but it was just, a download given to me of the partnership of, it's like, there are times when my hands go up. It's like, I'm not doing it.
Mm-mm.
I have just kind of taken any kind of resistance away, and then they just allow them to go where they may go. And it's
Yeah.
like, the more that I embrace, that partnership and follow those leadings, even when I don't understand, um,
Mhm.
that
Yes.
then I can be in the purpose. Then I can then do
Yeah.
those things.
Yeah. I like that.
Um,
That's really powerful for me today, that whole partnership concept, and that, it's actually not new. I mean, it's very much aligned with my faith and beliefs, but I hadn't thought of it like that. And so I'm grateful for that download that came to you today.
yeah, and I've going to put the, your website is up, and people will have your, um, the link to get your book. And um, there's a lot of things have changed since COVID, and everything. It's like sometimes you you publish a book and then you get out on the road and and just kind of do all that other kind of stuff. Is there any creative ways that you're getting in front of people and letting them know about this wonderful resource to have?
Well, interestingly, you should say that. I've been on one, given two different settings to talking about the book and tailoring it a little bit more to the audience, whichever audience. One was a women's group at my church and one was a choir of singers, and talking about taking care of the voice, but also what it means to release tension and that kind of unleashing, right? So we talked about those two things. And then I have just been working with the priest at our church, and I'm going to be doing a three-part series of Advent offerings on Saturdays at my church.
Oh, wow. That's great.
And what we're going to do is talk about the three characters that are well known from the Bible that are prominent in the Advent readings. And the first is the prophet Isaiah, and the second is John the Baptist, and the third is Mary, the mother of Jesus, and how their voices were so important and so critical to the faith that we believe at this point, those of us who share my belief. But anyway, I'm very excited about that. I took the readings at the priest's suggestion, and that's what was downloaded to me. Oh, this is how you can tie it in. And so for each of these characters, there's stories that I talk about in the book that relate in different parts of the different chapters that relate to the stories of each of these important figures.
Wow. So that's great. Well, it has definitely been an honor to not just be your friend, but to be connected to your journey. And the invitation, through book form to really just show up in my life. And so I think that's what this this book is for me and our friendship. But I am just like I said, I'm just honored, and I'm so glad that you wrote this book, because there's a lot of books that don't get written because of a number of things. And even though
because they're too comfortable,
right? Sometimes it feels like, oh, I don't want to write a book. There's so many books, but there's so many more that are not written.
There are just as many. Well, there are more books out there than there are voices in the world. But just because there are that many books out there doesn't mean yours doesn't matter. It's the same thing about your voice. Just because there's so many other voices out there, maybe saying something similar or something totally different, it doesn't mean that yours doesn't matter. Everybody's voice is equally valuable. And when I say voice, I mean that literally and figuratively. But every human being deserves respect and dignity. And just to circle back to how I introduced myself, I care for everybody. Of course, we all know this particular time in our country is full of tension, and who knows what potential energy that could be unleashed. And I'm going to try to make it my mission to do my part to help unleash the potential and the purpose in a way that connects and brings people together to the extent that I am able, and aided by my partner.
Wonderful. Thank you, my friend. I typically say our goodbyes in the green room if you're able to, but this has been great.
Thank you so much, William.
Okay. Oh, unleashed. I think I still have this image of this the pink fuzzy prison, that at once was very comfortable, but now it is time to go. So what areas are you so comfortable that you are, using my words, you are in denial? You are so comfortable that what is calling you is not available to you. I invite you to partner in to Source, God, your creator, whatever language that you need to be fully expressed. I hope this conversation has brought value to you, not just to your day, but to your life. I invite you to reach out to me at iamwilliambrown.com, a place to help you be yourself and live your life, for a complimentary coaching session. Because the world wants you, the world needs you, and the world is waiting for you. So go be you. Have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you tomorrow on One Word Conversations.